Welcome back, RawSangan family. So today we're about to bring you a back-to-back first place Adamancipator deck. This deck has won locals 3 weeks in a row. We get locals Monday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And last Saturday, we had a 32-man locals, and he just clean sweep everybody. I was fortunate to play this deck, so I can tell you that even some of his cards that seem a little bit strange in his deck all works, and he's gonna explain it on the deck profile. But he can make one Ash into two negates. It sounds a little far-fetched, but let's go check out the deck profile and you'll see why. So we have
Josh Rice,
and what deck are you playing?
Adamancipator, best deck.
How many times have you gotten first at the locals?
3 times.
3 times each week, back to back?
Something like that.
Oh, right.
So I basically still think this deck is really good. Of course it doesn't have Block Dragon, but it still has all the tuners, which leads to fiber, and if you resolve fiber, that's basically game in this deck. So play 3 Tinny, because it's a tuner. It's just the best one. You still want tuners in the deck. I know the deck is kind of going in a different direction, but you just still want access to fiber, because the hands you lose in this deck are hands you don't have a tuner to play. So fiber is like the main thing you want to do. And of course these Adamancipators are still really broken. They do too much on their own. Just 1 card fibers basically. I mean, can't really beat that. Same thing, Seeker and Researcher. They're just the best cards in the deck. That's what, as long as these cards are, legal and everything, I think this deck is still actually really viable, even without Block Dragon. And of course, you hit the cards that you can hit off the miners. Doki. This card's still broken. This is why the deck's still a deck. It still can't be hand trapped even without block, because you just hit one of these off the miners and you're just playing around nib. It just puts so much pressure on your opponent to where they can't hand trap you. So this card, as long as it's a card, this card should have probably got limited, but because it's not, I'm gonna keep playing it. Then this card, Supplier, searches the Guardian whenever it's specialed, and then it chain blocks fiber, so you can make fiber, chain link 2, and then Hulk chain link 1. So you just play around Ash. This card's pretty good. It's the Water Adamancipator. Basically what it does is whenever it's special by the effect of an Adamancipator card, you draw a card. So as you'll see, you're just going through your whole deck. You almost go through your whole deck twice in this deck. So you're getting to see like whatever side cards you want, and I'll show you a card, the extra that you're playing. Basically just to see your side deck cards, and that's an advantage that this deck has. You're almost always going to see at least 1, possibly 2 side deck cards. Then the Plague. This is what you bring out off of fiber. It's really broken in this deck, because not only it helps play around Nibiru, because sometimes you can get Nibiru'd. So whenever they Nibiru you, you're going to have a token, but then you'll make the token into a Link Spider, bring this back, and still make Dragoons pop the Nibiru. So you still, if nothing else, you'll always in on the Dragoons in this deck. Then you got the 2 bricks, the Dark Magician and Red Eyes. That's another reason why you play Plague. You just put these back on top of the deck. So if you draw them, you put them back, or I'll show you a card by extra deck that also helps with this. This is the best hand trap in this deck. I don't play that many. Ash Blossom. Basically, it's just a fire. I mean, it's obviously Ash, and for locals, it's really good, but it's the most generic hand trap. In this deck specifically, it's the best one, just because a card in your extra deck interacts with this card, and I'll get to that later. Nibiru, it's a rock for this deck, so you can it goes well with Researcher. So if you have this, you can special Researcher, and it's just, you need this hand trap against decks like Virtual World, Dragon Link, Infernoble. I know it doesn't do a whole lot. I'm not playing a lot of hand traps, but if you're gonna draw one, this is probably the one that you want to draw along with Gamma. I don't play it, but you still need a high impact hand trap in your deck. And then, so that concludes the monsters. We'll get to the spells. This card's broken. So this is the direction that the deck goes now. Adamancipator Sign. So basically what it does is you special any rock from your graveyard in defense position, and if you special an Adamancipator off of it, you stack any rock on top of your deck. So you can stack the card you want to excavate. So same thing with Plague. Why Plague's good? You stack the card you want to excavate, you excavate it, and that's what makes this card good. So this card is actually just really broken. To go along with that, the 4th Monster Reborn, the OG, and the mandatory Red Eyes Fusion. And this next card, I was having problems with the Zoo matchup, and I just can't beat it because one Zoo, as you're seeing, I'm not playing a Buster Lock, so one Zoo just kind of rapes your board. It's insane. So I could not beat the Zoo matchup, but since I threw this card in my deck, you know, you're gonna draw it. Book of Moon. It's good going first and second. So going first, you book the Zoo. You know, all your negates are still live because one Zoo does so much to this deck. So because they'll just stack 6 materials on a Zeus. You'll Guardian negate, they'll detach. You'll Savage negate, they'll detach. You'll Dragoon effect, they'll detach. So you're still losing your board, and this deck doesn't have the follow-up it used to because of Block Dragon. So that's why this card is MVP, because going first, you just out the Trident, Special Analyzer, or I'm sorry, going second, you out the Trident, then you'll special your Analyzer, and then you'll play through hand traps really easy in this deck. And then going first, it just helps out the Zeus, so your board's just not getting wiped by one Zeus. And then so the extra deck, these two are obviously insane. You resolve this, it's game in this deck. You got the Anaconda. You got the Link Spider. This is for the Nibiru token, because in your formidable hands, sometimes Nib can hurt, or if you're getting a hand trap 2 to 3 times, you're still getting it in on the Dragoons just because you make the Nib token into this, and then Plague Spray to bring back itself, and then make Anaconda. This is the best card in the extra deck, and this is why I'm saying, like, between you excavating and going through your whole deck, so you're seeing your whole deck, so you're gonna see a side deck card, or whatever card you want. You make this. So like you draw 4, obviously you put back the Dark Magician or Red Eyes if you draw, so it's not really a downside in this deck. So this is the best card in the extra deck. It lets you see Book of Moon against the matchups you want to see it. It lets you see Ash. Just whatever you side in, because this deck is really hard to hand trap just because of the Guardian. So a lot of time you're not getting hand traps, so cards like Dark Ruler and stuff kind of hurt you a lot. Dark Ruler and any Zoo hurts this deck so much. So you want to draw cards in your side like Judgment, Book of Moon, and you will get to it because of this card. Then you'll play your Dragoons, mandatory, your Granite. This isn't really Block Dragon Turbo the deck anymore, but occasionally this can come up to where you just search a Researcher and keep going. But I honestly didn't make this card once today, and it just doesn't really come up anymore. This is Diamond Direwolf. I know it's kind of weird, but this is for people, I mean, as locals, you never know what you're going to play against, but for people that think Megaclops is enough in the Zoo matchup, so you'll just make all your negates, and then you'll make this, pop the Megaclops, and then you'll just OTK him. Marcher, you know, it goes along with these cards. But this card's kind of interesting. You play the Cyberse Integrator, so you'll make your Marcher bring back the Plague, and then with your other token and your Plague, you'll make this. And then this, it goes along with the theme of, like, you're going to draw what you need in this deck, because between Saryuja, the Water Adamancipator guy that draws whenever you summon, and this, when it's in the graveyard, you draw a card. So you're drawing more cards, and then you'll make these two, usually, you'll synchro these two into a Rat type. You know, this guy's broken. Before, when it was Block Dragon the deck, you wouldn't really leave this on field, but this card, a DD Crow, as long as you have a win in your graveyard, which is going to be Martial Middle Marcher always, DD Crow in the current format is really good. So usually you just utilize the smaller Adamancipator synchros more in today's format, and they're actually all insane in today's format. This guy, it wasn't played before, but this guy's really good too. So what you do is you excavate 5 like all the other ones, and you add an Adamancipator card that you excavate to your hand. So you can be sacky in this deck. This deck is kind of sacky too. So you can activate the Adamancipator signs and add it to your hand, which is insane. But the reason why I was saying Ash is the best hand trap in this deck is because his other effect is during your opponent's turn, if you have a fire in your graveyard, you can special any rock from your graveyard. So a lot of the time, you'll have a Guardian on field with this guy. And what you'll do is your opponent will be playing. You'll Guardian effect negate. So between Saryuja, that's what I'm saying. You try to dig for this card. You try to dig for cards like Book of Moon. So if you have this and this guy, you'll leave this on field. So you'll Guardian, they'll activate a monster, you'll Guardian negate, you'll have Ash, you'll Ash something, and then still during their turn, you'll bring back a Guardian, and then they do something else. This is once per turn. So you'll Guardian negate them again.
So right off the bat, it's like 3 negates.
Yeah, it's insane. Then you'll play the Herald. This guy really doesn't come up. You don't make him a whole lot, but he's just there. You know, if you're going to play the Martial Metal Marcher package and all that, the fiber, you might as well play. You're not going to play a better card than this. Savage. You make him, and then this guy's insane because he just breaks your opponent's boards. He's a Dragoon out. He's all those cards that can't be targeted. He just bounces it, non-targeting. So really good. And then we'll go to the side deck. Dark Ruler no more. We're basically just, I mean, obviously not for the Buster Lock decks, but for decks like Zoo, you know, sometimes the Trident, it's not a problem, but you just want to simplify the game as much as you can. So you just side this in, and because a Trident isn't much, but it can, in those awkward hands, really hinder you. The Duster, obviously, for back row decks. The Lightning Storms for back row decks.
Is that 3 or 2?
Just 2.
2.
Ogres, just a good hand trap against combo, so Dragon Link, Infernoble, and Zodiac if they play into it. It's pretty good. Lancia, this is for Virtual World, and just Dragon Link sometimes, but you might as well side in just because it's another hand trap.
And Fluffles.
Because Fluffles is broken. You got the 1 red reboot, you know, buy back row decks, but you got to respect them. And the card you're going to draw off of Saryuja to stop the Dark Ruler no mores, the Mystic Minds, all that, you're just going to Solemn Judgment. They think they're safe, and that's basically it.
Man, Saryuja sounds pretty broken right now.
It's extremely broken.
All right, if you guys like the deck profile, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
Well, I'm here with the king of games, Yugioh, and he's telling me that you guys should subscribe, like, hit that notification bell for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Isn't that right, Yugi?